Hey there, Casey at TaxSaleAcademy.com, and welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast. Today I want to clear up a question that I've been asked many times over the years and often caused quite a bit of confusion. Do I really need to research the title before buying a tax sale property? It's a very fair question. And depending on who you ask, you're going to hear many different answers. Some investors will skip title searches altogether. Others will not touch a property without doing one. So what is the truth? Well, like most things in business, it depends on your risk tolerance, your budget, and your exit strategy. But I will say this, even a basic title search can reveal quite a bit. And if you know how to do it yourself, it takes very little time and can save you a whole lot of money and headaches down the road. So today we're going to break it all down: when title research matters, what it reveals, how it fits into the legal side of things, and how deep you really need to go. So let's go ahead and dive in. First off, what are you really getting at a tax sale? When you buy a property at a tax sale, you're going to receive something like a tax deed, a treasurer's deed, a commissioner's deed. The name varies by state, but these deeds function a lot like a quit-claim deed. They will transfer whatever interest the government holds in the property without making any guarantees. Now, some counties actually use quit-claim deeds, but they're giving you whatever interest they have in that property. You're not getting a warranty deed, you're not getting title insurance, you're getting whatever interest is allowed by state statute. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, this sounds risky, and on paper, I guess it kind of is, but here's the key thing. Those deeds are backed by state statute. So even though the deed does not come with guarantees, it does have legal power behind it. That's a big distinction from a private party quit-claim deed. Now, in most states, you also need to understand that tax deeds will extinguish private party liens, things like mortgages, judgments, and mechanics liens. These are typically to be wiped out once the deed is issued. But here's the catch. Governmental liens usually remain. This will include things like code enforcement liens, demolition liens, nuisance abatements, utility fees in some areas. Those liens don't go away at the tax sale. So if you buy the property, you as the investor will be responsible for them. And some of these liens, especially code violations, can go back 5 or 10 years with daily fines, compounding interest, and can make them incredibly expensive. Now, there's ways to negotiate them and there's ways to deal with them, but just assume you will be paying for them. So yes, a title search is going to be your first line of defense for something like that. And then of course, your second line of defense is contacting the county code enforcement office directly and asking them if they have a file on that property. So why do we even bother with a title search then? There are 3 key reasons. The first one is to spot those governmental liens. Like I just mentioned, those will stay with the property. If the house is boarded up or the yard looks like a junkyard, there's a good chance that code enforcement has noticed and they've gotten involved. And they don't just forgive those fines and say, it's okay, you bought it at an auction, we don't worry about that stuff anymore. No, those fines will still exist. So you want to know what is recorded and ideally negotiate or plan for those costs before you buy. The second reason is to understand the property history. A title search will really give you a lot of insight into the property. It can tell you things like past mortgages, which will help you estimate historical value. Mechanics liens, clues about works that was done. Insurance claims, especially fire, sinkhole, other structural loss type claims. It can also show you like building permits or maybe the lack thereof. Even if the liens are gone, this kind of data will give you a more complete picture of what you are dealing with. The more you know about an investment property before you put up your money, the better in every single situation. And the third reason is to help you reduce the risk of a legal challenge. And let me share a scenario that I went over in an email lately. Let's say a husband and a wife own a property, but only the husband's name was listed on the tax foreclosure notice. So you have 2 owners, but only one owner was listed on the tax foreclosure. After the sale, the wife could then argue she was never notified, and the sale violated the due process under the 14th Amendment. And she could potentially challenge the sale to that property. It's rare, yes, but it does happen. And if a judge agrees, the sale could be overturned. In most cases, the investor is going to get their money back. But if you've already invested in a cleanup or resale prep, that kind of thing, you're going to be out of that time, that effort. So if you do a quick title search to determine who the current owners are and potentially any lien holders, then you compare them to the tax foreclosure case file, you can see who was provided notice and who might or might not be an issue moving forward with that property. And you also have to consider that there are some states that are very, very strict when it comes to notices and others are a little bit more laxed. So Florida, for example, is not considered particularly strict on notices. Challenges happen, of course, but it's more rare for the property to be overturned in the court system. You have some states like New York, Maryland, Illinois, California. They are much stricter, and courts are more likely to overturn a sale if notification was not perfect. And then you have situations like Pennsylvania or New Mexico where exceptions do exist to what we've discussed, and liens can remain. So a title search isn't optional there. It is critical. So again, we have 3 reasons mainly that we do these title searches. We want to spot governmental liens that we inherit. We want to understand the property history. And then third, we want to reduce the risk of a legal challenge. Again, in some states, if notification was not provided by the book, the former owner can challenge the sale. Now, something to keep in mind when it comes to challenges and stuff like that, because everybody gets, they kind of panic about the possibility that somebody will challenge the sale when they buy a piece of real estate. First off, you have to think there's got to be a lot of equity in that property because the person that lost that property must invest a lot of money to pay an attorney to challenge it. And that challenge might even go to the highest courts in that case. So, it's not talking about a situation where an attorney for a few $100 will challenge it. No, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars in many situations. So they have to have had that equity. And in many cases, they probably would just pay the taxes in the first place. So challenges, I think, in general, are not overly common, but they could happen. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. All right, so let's get practical now. Do you really have to research title? If you're buying a $1,000 vacant lot, are you going to do a full title search? Probably not. You might skim the records if you want to, but you have to realize somebody's not going to challenge the foreclosure for a property worth $1,000. It's just not going to be an issue. If you are spending $300,000 on a house, you probably want to dig deeper. The higher your investment, the more valuable title research becomes. And again, once you get used to it, you can do a title search very, very quickly yourself. In fact, many of our Academy members now do their own title searches after watching our Tax Title 101 training that we have in the Academy. It saves you a lot of time, and it really gives them the confidence to know everything about that property prior to investing in it. So if that's not for you, there are abstractors and online title research companies that can help out on a fee-based system. But what's not okay here is on the higher priced or higher risk properties is to just ignore the chain of title entirely. Take a little bit of time, dig into it some, because again, there's lots and lots of clues there about the property. So let's answer the question. Is title search necessary for tax sale investing? Not always, but it almost always is going to be helpful in some form. Helps you identify the liens that survive the sale. It helps spot ownership issues. It reduces the chances of legal challenges, and it makes smarter, safer investments. You don't have to go full title company mode, but learning the basics, that's absolutely part of becoming a serious investor. Skim those records, see what you find, and hopefully it helps you out on your next tax sale deal. Listen, that's all I got for you today. I truly hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Tax Sale Podcast. If you did, make sure you subscribe to us and leave us some positive feedback. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. In the meantime, make sure you make it a successful day. Bye-bye.